Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Remember, if you love film, gaming, or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because I have just recently seen Women Talking, which means that I have now seen every single one of the Best Picture nominees, and I want to rank them, so let's get into it. There are usually one or two films in the Best Picture lineup each year where I don't really enjoy watching them at all, and I feel really strange because everyone else apart from me is just raving about it, and number 10 makes me feel that way. I'm talking about All Quiet on the Western Front, a war movie which had very little impact on me, and I think the Academy was a little overzealous for giving it 9 nominations. I don't even think it's the best international film this year. I mean, sure, it is technically impressive, even if I have seen this type of cinematography and production design in so many other war films that came before, so I don't know why this one in particular is special. I will say that I found this tough to get through because so much of this was just pretty much dull to me. The only time this film truly gripped me, and I'll give it credit for doing that at the very least, was the terrific third act. That was the only time during this film that I could justify this getting a nomination. It was heart-wrenching and unforgettable. I just wish the other 2 hours of the film would grip me the same, and I would be completely on board with a lot of you out there, but as of right now, this is my least favorite in the Best Picture lineup.
The end of love, the need for love, result in so much violence.
At number 9, I have the film I saw the most recently, Women Talking. I see why there is love for it. I think the screenplay and the ensemble are both fantastic. The standout performances were Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, and Ben Whishaw, and I probably wouldn't have been mad if they got nominated as well. And I like the progression of the story in a way. It really sinks its teeth into you during the third act, when these very philosophical discussions throughout the film kind of get taken into action, and I thought that was really interesting to see. But for a lot of this, don't hate me, but I found it dull in certain moments. I've said this before, I am not a huge fan of the genre where a bunch of characters are in one room and they're just chatting it out for about 2 hours. In the moment, I think those films are okay, but as time passes, they become extremely forgettable. Some standouts in this genre in my mind are films like The Whale and One Night in Miami. Unfortunately, Women Talking took a lot of the things that I don't like about the genre and put it at the forefront. So for me, it was quite hard for me to be invested into this. There has been talk about the color grading, and I do agree with the criticism. To me, it looks awful, which is a big shame because I think the framing and aspect ratios are both excellent. I knew what it was going for by having very little color, but just go to black and white. It will convey the same messaging and it won't make this so dull to look at. It's okay, I don't hate this film by any means. It just took me far too long to be invested into this.
It's H&M! Yay! Balenciaga! And H&M! Balenciaga!
At number 8, I have a film that I think is just barely deserving of a nomination, even if I think there are more deserving films. Here I am talking about Triangle of Sadness. I saw this at the Brisbane International Film Festival alongside films like The Banshees of Inisherin and Tar. And when you watch all those films in the same kind of time period, this feels far weaker to me. Even if this was a really fun screening and my audience was enjoying this, which shows that there is passion behind it for sure, and I'm almost there with you. I want to like this film more, but I just can't. I say this because I really love the first 2 acts of this film. I thought they were incredibly well written and directed, and at times reminded me of Parasite in terms of its commentary on class systems. The film was funny, and the ensemble was just brilliant the whole way through. I also really loved the final line of dialogue. It hit like a dagger that ties this complex story really well. However, the rest of the third act, I think, grinds the film to a halt. This seems to be a divisive point because on my review for the film where I mentioned these criticisms, I did get some people saying that they really enjoyed the third act, so there is love for it. but I'm not the only one that had that criticism. It was a pretty consistent criticism for the film. And to say it's divisive at the least holds it back for me. This third act isn't even controversial, it just loses so much momentum and makes the film feel really bloated, and you really start to feel that 2.5 hour runtime in this exact moment. I was begging this to end when we reached that third act because I pretty much stopped enjoying the film altogether until we hit that final line. I do like this movie a lot more than the previous two that I just mentioned, but would I have nominated this for Best Picture? Probably not.
But it's lost its sense of direction.
At number 7, I have a film I definitely enjoyed and can easily justify some nominations for sure, but not Best Picture, especially seeing what got snubbed. I have Elvis at number 7, which in my opinion is Baz Luhrmann's best film to date. I'm not generally a fan of Baz Luhrmann's work, which is kind of crazy seeing as I've lived most of my life in Australia. I practically am Australian, so a lot of us really love his kind of directing and everything, but it's never clicked with me. It's just a little too messy in my eyes, but I actually did enjoy Elvis quite a bit. Austin Butler is incredible in the role, and I can't wait to see him in Dune Part 2. He is a great actor, and I'm glad he is getting some recognition for his performance here. I also really like the costume and production design, and I think these nominations were definitely warranted. However, I am a little salty because as a maximalist film, I draw comparisons to another maximalist film that released this year in Babylon, which got completely snubbed in this category. So many people in the future are going to look back on this list and go, why was Elvis there and Babylon wasn't? It's a far better maximalist film. It is better crafted and it has more than one excellent performance. It has several. Babylon was my film of the year for 2022. So to see that the Academy completely forgoed that film for Elvis irks me quite a bit. But, you know, as a musical biopic, Elvis is pretty great.
Movies are dreams that you never forget.
At number 6, I have Steven Spielberg's best film in years, which is The Fabelmans. I still don't think the film is perfect. There is a big jump between this and the next 5 on this list because, once again, The Fabelmans is in a genre that I'm not really a big fan of, and that is where a director basically tells us their life story. Now, I like this more than a ton of other films in the genre, don't get me wrong, because this is more heartfelt, and Spielberg is a master behind the camera. So it is fascinating to see what kind of drew him to filmmaking in the first place, where he is practically the most accomplished ever. I think the final shot of this film, if Spielberg decides to retire, is a perfect send-off for his career, and the ensemble in this film is fantastic. I also think the screenplay is incredibly strong and draws you in quite a bit. I do think that this is on the longer side of things, however, with its runtime, but I left the theatre having a mostly great experience, and I completely understand why it got nominated. It's still not in my top 10 personally, but it is a worthwhile choice for a Best Picture nomination.
It didn't do anything to me. I just don't like you no more.
You liked me yesterday.
Numbers 5 to 2 on this list are incredibly difficult to separate in my eyes. So at number 5, I have this here for the sake of I wasn't quite as high on this when I initially came out of the theatre. Don't get me wrong, I still loved it, but not quite as much. And that is The Banshees of Inisherin. In my review for the film after I initially saw it, I gave the film a 4 out of 5. And I think it is now at a 4.5 out of 5 level. Because every time I think about this, I just love it more and more. Martin McDonagh wrote a fantastic screenplay and provided expert direction because the film is just engaging from start to finish. Also, this may be one of my favorite ensembles of the year. Pretty much all of them got nominated for Oscars and they are all more than deserving. I love Colin Farrell in the lead performance. He could potentially be my favorite out of the Best Actor nominees, but it is close because I do love Brendan Fraser's and Austin Butler's performances. But Farrell is hilarious and he just knows how to work with this dialogue. The same can be said for Brendan Gleeson, who is terrific, and then Barry Keoghan maybe giving career best work here. He is hilarious throughout the film, and I'm so glad he got nominated too, because he is a welcoming presence in the Banshees of Inisherin. Kerry Condon is also great and is more than deserving with some very stellar scenes. This was the opening for this year's Brisbane International Film Festival for me, and I mean, what a great way to start. What a fun film. At number 4, I have another film that played at this year's Brisbane International Film Festival, and it was one of the films that had the most buzz surrounding it out of the festival, and that is Tar. I think this is maybe one of the smartest films in this lineup. It is a deeply intelligent and thoughtful screenplay, backed up by just technically brilliant direction from Todd Field. I could say the same about Cate Blanchett's performance, who could very well take home the Oscar for her performance, which would be more than well deserved because she is mind-blowingly good in this. I wouldn't say it's the most showy performance, but Blanchett does a lot of small things with the performance that make it feel transformative. From all the films that I have seen in this genre from 2022, this might be the best character study of the year. Lydia Tarr is a very interesting character, and the way she utilizes her power dynamics for personal gain while confusing the audience into thinking that she's kind of the hero of her own tale is very reflective of how we as people see ourselves as the good guy in every situation we're in. I really love this film, even if it can be a bit too slower paced at points. It would quickly draw me back in, and the ending, which I won't spoil here, is just a powerful gut punch that I just thought was a masterful touch from Todd Field. I had very high expectations for Avatar: The Way of Water. I am a big fan of the original, and I thought this had massive shoes to fill, and it somehow managed to get quite close to those lofty expectations I had. Avatar: The Way of Water has all the things that you expect from an Avatar film, like some of the best visual effects and a pro-environmental message, but I just love that we are getting these types of films again. I'm talking about real blockbusters that aren't low effort and just out the door chasing stats and were kind of created in a boardroom. This has a level of craft to it and genuine passion behind it. While this film is riding on being a box office smash, James Cameron is still given enough trust to deliver us that experience. This really isn't a vision that was created in a boardroom to draw in as much box office numbers as it can. This is still a risky project because this is coming from the mind of James Cameron. And because of that, he still manages to deliver an experience that draws everyone into the theater. I don't think the story is revolutionary by any means, but the first one wasn't either, and I still loved it despite that, and I think the stories are engaging enough to draw you in. I will say that I do prefer the first film over this one, but it's still an excellent follow-up, and I cannot wait to buy this on 4K when I eventually upgrade and buy a bigger TV and showcase this on it, because this film is just perfect for that. This is a 3-hour film that somehow managed to justify its runtime, and trust me, that is an incredibly difficult thing to do, especially in my eyes. It's just a spectacle in every sense of the word.
My dad believed in you. I'm not gonna make the same mistake.
At the beginning of the year, if you said that Top Gun Maverick would be number 2 on this list, I would have called you an idiot. But turns out I'm the idiot because Top Gun Maverick is an incredible film and I cannot believe I like it so much. This had so much against it for me to really like it in my eyes, because I could only get through 10 minutes of the first one because I found it really boring, and I wasn't too impressed with the trailers for Top Gun Maverick, and despite all that, I was blown away. This was just such a fun blockbuster experience, and it had me entertained from start to finish. This was just such fun that I just bought the 4K pretty much as soon as I could after watching it, because I can just see myself watching this so many times in the future. In a lot of ways, what Joseph Kosinski did with this film felt similar to a Christopher Nolan style of direction with Top Gun, which is very interesting to see. I am happy with all the nominations it received, and I know it's quite a long shot, but I don't think I would be really that mad if it won Best Picture, because it is an excellent film, even if it isn't the type of film to really win that award.
Across the multiverse, I've seen thousands of Evelyns.
Everything Everywhere All at Once is on this list at number 1 because it is the only film on this list that I would give 5 stars to. I think this was just a stunning achievement that feels like a Best Picture winner, even if it is insanely unique. I'm feeling a similar kind of buzz behind this film that I do for Parasite when that won. Everyone was just in agreement that that was probably the best film of the year and is the most deserving of the Best Picture nomination. And because of that passion, it launched it to win the award. I think this will do something similar because what's not to love with this film? It is incredibly stylistic yet heartfelt. It is ambitious, but the messages are quite universal and very relatable. It has excellent representation and doesn't do it in a way that feels disingenuous. It feels like the Daniels were writing off their own personal experiences and what they have gone through. I'm of course talking about the dramatic side and not the crazy multiverse stuff, but who knows, maybe Daniels have done what we haven't in terms of multiverse travel and everything. I just loved watching this. It had me in the palm of its hand, and while it isn't my favorite film of 2022, it is easily in my personal top 5, and at the Academy Awards, I want it to win a lot of stuff. I want to see Stephanie Hsu win for supporting actress. I want to see Ki Hai Kwan win for supporting actor. I want to see a screenplay win, a director win, a Best Picture win. And while I really, really love Cate Blanchett's performance, and it would make me happy to see her win for that award, I would probably prefer Michelle Yeoh winning because what she does for that film is absolutely incredible. There is just so much that Everything Everywhere All at Once achieves, and I'm so happy that this exists. It epitomizes the beauty of A24 films, and it acts as a gateway to these very beautifully crafted films. And for it to achieve that level of exposure to a whole new audience that is completely new to film, I'm all for it. I want this to win Best Picture, and I honestly think it will. It's not a lock yet, determining on what we see from BAFTA and SAG and the guilds. It could change, but I think that it is likely that it will go all the way in Best Picture, and when it does, I will be extremely happy because no film out of these nominees deserves it more in my eyes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Tell me in the comments below what your list looks like. What films in this lineup do you like and what don't you like? Are you happy with this lineup? I personally think it could have been a little bit better, but they did do a better job of picking the Best Picture films compared to what they did last year. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.